One day, a professor wanted to teach his students an important lesson about life and priorities. He gathered them around and placed a large, empty jar on the table in front of them. The students watched curiously, wondering what he was about to do. The professor then picked up a collection of large rocks and carefully placed them, one by one, into the jar. He made sure each rock fit snugly, filling up the jar to the top. After placing the rocks, he turned to his students and asked, "Is the jar full now?" The students nodded in agreement, thinking the jar was indeed full. These rocks represent the most important things in life: family, health, dreams, the professor explained. These are the things that truly matter and should be prioritized above all else. He then picked up a container of pebbles and began to pour them into the jar. The pebbles filled the spaces between the rocks, settling into the gaps. "Now," he said, "these pebbles represent other important things: work, school, hobbies." "Is the jar full now?" he asked again. The students, now catching on, nodded once more, but with a bit more hesitation. The professor smiled and picked up a container of sand. He slowly poured the sand into the jar, and it filled all the remaining spaces around the rocks and pebbles. "The sand," he said, "represents the small, insignificant things that often take up too much of our time. If you fill your jar with sand first, there won't be room for the rocks or the pebbles," he continued. "This is a metaphor for life. If you spend all your time and energy on the small stuff, you will never have room for the things that are truly important. Focus on what truly matters and let everything else fall into place," the professor advised. "Make sure you prioritize your rocks first, then the pebbles, and finally the sand." The students nodded in understanding, realizing the profound lesson they had just learned. They saw how easy it was to let the small, insignificant things take over their lives if they weren't careful. This story reminds us to prioritize our lives wisely. Don't let the small stuff crowd out what truly matters. Focus on your rocks, and your jar of life will always be full. Remember, it's not about having time, it's about making time for the things that matter most. When you prioritize wisely, you create a balanced and fulfilling life. So take a moment to reflect on your own jar of life. What are your rocks? What are your pebbles? And what is the sand that you can let go of? By doing this, you ensure that your life is filled with what truly matters.